All right, folks, welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. We have episode number 182 tonight. We're going to be reviewing Werner Herzog's new documentary, Fireball. Fireball is a documentary about meteorites, comets, asteroids, near-Earth objects, that kind of a thing. But before we get into that, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/mindescapepodcast. For just $2 a month, you'll get exclusive guest episodes and segments. We just actually uploaded a new fan chat on there too. So that was the first time we've uploaded a chat with our fans and friends on Discord, where we put it up on Patreon. So that was fun. That was a good conversation. A little bit of simulation theory, a little psychedelics, a little ancient civilizations. So shout out to Sandy, Sean, Chip, and Cole. And shout out to Martin Ferretti, actually. He was the one that told me to check this documentary out. So if you're watching, Martin, thanks. And, shout out to Zachariah, new Patreon member. And shout out to Ryan, new Patreon member. So thank you.
Yeah, those are always a good time. It's good to meet some of the fans and just have a little open-ended chit chat.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny. There is a edited and unedited version. If you're a mind escapee, you're gonna get the edited. If you're an escapee and part of the chat, you can listen to the unedited. So, and before we get started, also head on over to Indra's Web. Indra's Web is the social media platform we created to connect open minds. It is live. Go set up a profile. There's about a few hundred people, on there now, and it's slowly growing, but I like what I see in terms of posts and content and ideas people are throwing around and stuff. So again, go check out indrasweb.org. So what's going on, Maurice?
Not much. How are you, my man?
I'm all right. There's a bunch of internet outages earlier today, so
yeah,
I'm glad we got this in. And tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be sitting down with Matt Roberts for part 2 of that interview. And then Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have P.D. Newman on discussing ancient and esoteric psychedelic use. So
beautiful. A triple threat this week.
Yeah. All right, so Fireball.
Well, you got to say the whole name, bro. Fireball Visitors from Darker Worlds.
Yeah, that's a good title. I like it.
It is.
What did you think? I mean, because you're a videographer and professional photographer, what did you think of the overall, construct, the way it was put together, all that?
I loved it, man. I love Werner Herzog.
Werner.
I watched what are they called? The master class with him, and he's talking about making documentaries and actually making feature films. He just takes a very realistic approach to all the works that he's done.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I've seen of his is Grizzly Man, maybe. I'm trying to think. But yeah, I mean, that's probably what he's most famous for, I would assume, or what most people know. But yeah, I actually loved this documentary. I already think about space in kind of like a spiritual nature, but this even more solidified it with the music. It was some sort of, indigenous sounding music. I love that. Like a choir and everything. It was, they did a great job. The overall cinematography and the music and the way they incorporated it, all the different components and put it together. I really liked it. So
yeah, I like that they had some spirituality, but then they also had some scientific stuff. I think that's it's kind of how our podcast is, where we get into some of the esoteric themes, but then we kind of are deeply rooted in the scientific world. So it kind of fit right up our alley.
Yeah, and then I believe this is only available on Apple TV, by the way. So, and we're about to go through kind of, not necessarily in order, but kind of in order, the way that it goes down. So if even though it's a documentary, if you don't want to, spoiler alert, maybe come back to this after you go watch it. But again, I think it's only available on Apple TV right now.
But actually, if you go on there, you can get a free trial. That's what I did. So you get a 7-day free trial.
All right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And he made this movie with Clive Oppenheimer from Cambridge University. So it's Clive is the one interviewing the people and kind of going around to the different places, and Werner's behind the camera, obviously, but he kind of steps in a couple different scenes as well. So it starts off, though, showing the Chelyabinsk, I believe is how you pronounce it, Siberia videos of this meteorite that was just huge. It like flashed the whole sky in Siberia, and it was caught on like a ton of people's dash cams, actually. So like that's kind of how it starts, is all these different angles of this meteorite that went through Siberia and just lit up the sky.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That's how you start a documentary, with a nice bang.
And yeah, again, like the music and the intro stuff and the way they like cut into scenes. And then they go to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and the Kaaba, which is that, the thing that everybody walks around, that there's a meteorite stuck in there. They're pretty sure it's a meteorite. No, you can't get in there. Obviously, it's highly protected. But yeah, so
that's crazy. I never knew that. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, we learned about it in, I want to say, middle school. I think I learned about that. But yeah, that's where super religious site, obviously. And it's interesting that that's at the center of it, a meteorite. So, I mean, like, again, it goes back to this like spiritual thing, like something coming from a different place and landing here, and us, pondering the universe. It's definitely kind of initiates you, or kind of brings you into the thing when you think about it like that.
Absolutely. No, I knew about the place. I never knew that there was a meteorite at the center of it.
Yeah, or I think it's in one of the corners, but yeah, it's encased in there. So, and they had to use other footage because he said that they weren't allowed to film in there. From there, they go to so they go to Wolf Creek, Australia, where, I mean, there's been like those like crappy horror movies that have been made about it, but there's actually
I've seen a couple of those bad boys.
There's a huge crater there. I think it was spotted in 1947 from the air. Mm-hmm. They have found a couple pieces of iron asteroid. I think it's like a kilometer across, so it's like the size of a or like the asteroid was a kilo across. It was like the size of like a battleship, and it was moving supposedly at 50 kilometers per second. So that's pretty fast.
Yeah, that thing's incredible.
Again, only a few fragments have been found. Here, let me pull this thing up. I think I might actually have a picture of this crater on here. Let's see.
I want to go to Australia real bad.
Let's see. Yeah, okay, so here we are. Here's the Wolf Creek crater. And it's pretty big. I mean, you can't really tell from that angle. I couldn't find an aerial view, but it's pretty large.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we're using not copywritten images here.
And then from there they go to Belluna, which is and they have these Aboriginal artists with I think it's, what's her name? Katie Darkey, I think was her name, and she is like one of the top artists there. And she talks about like the rainbow serpent, which is huge in Aboriginal mythology and oral traditions. And the rainbow serpent obviously refers to a comet or an asteroid. No. Asteroid or different serpent.
I wanted to ask you though.
Quetzalcoatl is a feather plume serpent. So
you don't think there's any kind of correlation with taking a psychedelic like that and seeing that thing? And
no,
I don't know.
I don't. I mean,
that's what I thought of.
I don't think this has anything to do with that, honestly. I mean, it might. I mean, what connection would there be? I guess would be.
I don't know, maybe there's some kind of archetype that's just always been implanted in our minds, and maybe it stemmed from watching a comet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably the case, but I don't know what that has to do with psychoactive compounds or whatever. Um, so and then here's a artist's rendering of the rainbow serpent, and you can find it on Aboriginal like rock art and like cave art and stuff. Again, it's pretty prevalent. So, and she talks about how there's, like the modern science explanation, and then like regular people, and then this is like what the traditional explanation is the rainbow
Uh-huh.
serpent. Okay. But yeah, I really thought that was kind of an interesting part. And
I
then
loved all the artwork that was surrounding this.
I don't think let's see here. I don't think I have a picture, but supposedly on November 30th, 1954, this woman named Ann Hodges in Alabama survived a meteorite impact. It came through her roof. I think it hit a couple things before it hit her, but it left like a massive, massive bruise on
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I wonder how many people have actually been hit by a meteorite. I don't know if it's obviously super, super rare. That might be the only person that in modern history, but
Yeah, but
um,
who knows? Because they burn up into such small specks that it may have happened. No one even knew because it was such a small little pebble.
yeah.
It kind of reminded. Have you ever seen that one Simpsons episode when they're all worried that the asteroid's gonna hit the Earth and obliterate it, and then it just burns all the way down into a little rock, and it hits Bart, and he just picks it up.
No, I mean that's funny, but yeah, I haven't seen
I think
that.
it was a Halloween episode.
Let's see here. Okay, so then after that they go to let's see here. This one's Ensisheim in France, and this one supposedly was November 7th, 1492. Um, and supposedly it was a big fireball in the sky, and some people saw it as like an omen. I think that there's at the time that area um, was being controlled by Austrian military, and the commander Maximilian like used it as an omen supposedly. And this is a medieval like woodcut of it, as you can see there. The images. But yeah, in this one there is a museum that they have this meteorite at, or this piece of the meteorite at. So it's in that town. You can go check it out. But yeah, it's they said this was actually a really big event and kind of even overshadowed Columbus not discovering America, because it
Yeah,
had already
yeah. Well,
been
be careful there.
because it had already been discovered and people have been
Yeah.
living there for a long time. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because if you saw something like that especially back in the day, you would probably correlate it with some kind of change coming or
that's what they
um
did. Yeah,
absolutely. But like the books A Game of Ice and Fire, obviously a lot of that stuff's based on real events, and in the second book actually there's a comet in the sky, and it's interesting because all the different characters see it and they all have their different perception of what it means
yeah,
to them in their life. So like some are looking at it as a positive thing, some are looking at it as a negative thing. It's pretty cool though.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, people obviously interpret these things as different um, omens, or
Right.
hey, I think this is going to happen, or I should do this, or take this action, or whatever. Well, it's been probably used for a lot of bloodshed as well, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's that, and then from there, I think they go and talk to this guy. What's his name? Jan Larsen. He's supposedly like one of the most famous jazz musicians in Norway. Uh,
Yeah, I didn't know where that was going when they pop up there and he's sitting on the roof playing some guitar.
yeah, he's playing some Django Reinhardt, but
Yeah, that's sick.
these he looks for these things. They're called micrometeorites, or it's like cosmic dust, and
Hmm.
it's on the roof of this like sports arena. It's like a soccer or football if you're in
Yeah.
Europe field. And he uses these magnets in like on the top of this roof, and he like collects all these particles using these magnets, and then takes it to this other guy. I think what's his name? Jan Heel. This dude supposedly had cancer like 4 times and like almost died twice, and he's still here inspecting these micro meteorites. But they use like a 3,000 times zoom to see these particles, and they look for like certain patterns. And it was actually kind of interesting that there was that much of it. Supposedly, I don't know if this is true, but he said that every square meter or something, like it's 2 dump trucks filled of cosmic dust or these tiny meteorites fall every day. So it's like every meter, every square meter there's some. So
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about, where people could be getting hit with these things all over the place, and they just wouldn't know because it's a tiny piece of dust.
yeah, I mean, they are super tiny. So I mean, who knows? I'm surprised. I mean, some of those images that they pulled up in the documentary too, they were like very artistic looking too. They were very, I don't even know. They looked interesting.
Well, yeah, that's I don't know if you're gonna get into this later, but they look at them under the microscope and they would see the structures of them, and then these old you might have to tell me who they were, but these old I think they're from India or something, but they are doing crazy art, and they were the exact same structures.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that actually.
Oh, okay,
That's like the next part of the.
All right.
And that's you're conflating 2 completely different parts of the documentary together. Okay, so we'll move on. So that's a micrometeorite. Here's just a little diagram to show you a little bit about types of interplanetary dust particles. You have chondritic, iron, sulfur, nickel, and silicates. The carbonaceous chondrites are the ones that they think could be the basis of like panspermia. Like they actually contain organic compounds, as you can see there. So
yeah, and after watching this, that whole theory of panspermia really does hold a lot of ground, don't you think?
I mean, yeah, I think here's the thing: is if it's prevalent, it's even more important, I think, because then it's happening, obviously all over the place. That's probably is the case. But if it's some fluke thing, like we got hit with some meteor or comet, from some that was interplanetary. I mean, who knows where we could have came from, a different solar system or something possibly. So
yeah.
I mean, you never know. I think that, that's why obviously science has got to just keep collecting data on all this stuff. And we got to keep collecting meteorites and meteors and, cosmic dust and all this stuff so we can kind of figure out more and more as we go along. Okay. So here's the thing you were talking about. So Paul Steinhardt from Princeton University came up with this idea of like quasi crystals, which would be like non-symmetrical crystals, and they were thought to not exist. But I think Sir Roger Penrose discovered through mathematics that this was possible. There's even a shrine in Iran that has this depicted on the outside of it as art. So it's like these ancient mathematicians or ancient artists obviously knew about this. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
Let's see here. And then so he was theorizing that this, was possible or whatever. So he went on some expedition near the Bering Straits in Russia, and they found physical evidence of these quasi crystals. So I guess they collected a bunch of samples. I mean, in the documentary, they're in like some sort of like tank, just like rolling over forests to get to this. Like I
remember that.
They're in like near the Bering Strait, so it's like not easy to get to. It's probably
These
some
guys
of the
aren't
most
messing around. Man.
Yeah, it's probably some of the most it's probably some of the most remote areas, and that's apparently the best way to find this stuff too. So we'll get at the end. We'll talk about that too. But yeah, he did end up finding evidence of these quasi crystals, so that's pretty big. And then they go and they talk to this, Lady and Warner jokes about how we're all made of stardust, or they're talking about we're made of stardust.
Sounded like you.
And yeah, so and then they get into the meteorite stuff again, and like as we were talking about the carbonaceous chondrites, those are the meteors that possibly they think could have brought life here at some point, or at least brought the building blocks of life. Some of I think they say like percentages of the like 3 to 22% of its water. They're composed mainly of silicates, oxides, and sulfides, with the minerals olivine and serpentine. Let's see here.
They probably don't talk about it in the documentary because it's kind of lowbrow for that community. But what do you think these things are worth?
Oh,
Or are they just?
I've
they're
seen
just
things
priceless?
I've seen things where they like in the desert, like these people are like racing to get these things because they are worth, like it's like the top for science. It's like if you're studying these things, you would probably shell out a pretty penny to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
people are like racing to get these things. So I assume they actually probably do take some money, but I mean, there's different ways of finding them too, as we saw in this documentary. It's not just, I think the desert is a place where they look too, because it's like at the end when they're in Antarctica, it's easy to find in these desolate places. So.
Well, any rock there is a meteorite.
Right.
Pretty sweet.
So, and then they go to where you were talking about. I think it's Ramgarh. I think it's a crater in India, and they built temples there. There's a temple dedicated to the god Shiva, which is the god of creation and destruction, which is kind of interesting because these meteorites could have possibly brought life and destroyed life at some point. So.
No, I was mainly talking about the Iran thing where they're doing the art that resembles the quasi-crystals.
Yeah, the quasi-crystals. But this is what I thought that was interesting, that they built these temples in that crater in India.
Yeah, that's amazing. But back on the quasis, like, how did they know that? Obviously, they didn't have telescopes. I mean, this kind of leads back to the same thing about some of these ancient drawings where it depicts the whole solar system and all the planets are like in perfect. They're all around the Earth perfectly. How did they know that stuff?
I mean, I would assume, I don't know. I mean, like well, here's the thing, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with geometry and mathematics. I mean, that's how they figured out pretty much everything in ancient Greece and even ancient Egypt. And, if you study the stars and you understand mathematics and stuff, you can figure stuff out. So
yeah, but they even had like Pluto and stuff in there. So I mean, they obviously can't see that far, and you can't see. You can only see like 4 or 5 planets.
What are you talking about right now?
With the naked eye. I'm talking about they have full on full on pictures of the Earth and the whole solar system.
Yeah, what are you talking about right now? Who had this? What are you talking about?
I mean, these are old pictures.
No,
bro.
you're making things up about people seeing Pluto before, They don't have that. There's a Sumerian picture, but it's not like a confirmed thing. There's just stars around on one of the tablets. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, but it's not like a for sure thing. It's just things that people say that they don't really look into.
All right. Well, I think it is the Sumerian one.
But again, I mean, I'm not trying to
Well, that was the first thing that
be
I
a
thought.
downer. I'm just saying, like,
artwork where it's like, how did they know the structure of the quasi crystal
Well,
if they didn't have anything looked at
earlier what you were talking about, like the psychedelic stuff, you look at some of these like mosques and this beautiful artwork. It looks like tryptamine palaces and DMT trips and stuff like that. They're beautiful. It's like artwork in itself, So if you had an experience, I would assume that maybe you could see that. Or again, through mathematics, some of these ancient people, we don't know how good they were at math. They could have figured out. If we can figure out through math today, I don't see why they couldn't have done it back then.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying,
the
I just
Sumerian one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that that's for sure not, but it's not it's not like a known thing. It's just something because it looks like those are all the planets. How could they know? But yeah, I mean, the ancient people did build observatories. I'm sure they did have like, some sort of telescopes at some point. I mean, I don't know exactly. You just probably think of more medieval times with that kind of stuff, but they probably had ways of figuring things out.
Yeah.
But again, math is, a pretty good way to figure things out if you're stuck here. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing we can really rely on.
So there's your quasi crystals. And then they talk about the big one, which would be Chicxulub. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sounds good to me.
The one that killed the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. And there you can see the Chicxulub crater there at the top left, and then you can kind of see so you get all these cenotes or these sinkholes, which were actually very, very important to ancient civilizations in those areas like the Mayans and I'm sure the Aztecs. Actually, I don't know if the Aztecs lived down there, but yeah, let me pull up this here. After that impact, see all those little white dots there on the side of the outside of the crater? Those are all cenotes. So supposedly there's a lot of like magnetic abnormalities, obviously from this impact in that area. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean that's the big one. I mean that's the one that wiped out tons and tons of probably almost everything. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what lived after the dinosaurs got wiped out, but small little...
Some shrew type thing.
Yeah, shrew. I think that's the most base thing that we know that we came from is this, like, tree shrew.
Sounds about right.
And then this is actually, I think it's that little white dot there in the middle, but this is actually an image of Oumuamua, which we talked about on our episode when we had Avi Loeb on. He wrote his whole book, Extraterrestrial, about his whole theory surrounding Oumuamua being some sort of extraterrestrial remnants or technology or something. So we threw that, in there. So here's an image of that. And they go to that STARS telescope in Hawaii in the next part, and they talk about like how they're looking for that. Supposedly that telescope or that observatory specifically is looking for near Earth objects. They're like on a watch, to prevent any sort of stuff. I think the one guy's name was Mark Willman. And there is some sort of, I think is it called the Planetary Defense Coordination Office or something like that, where it's like they're in charge of keeping an eye on the skies for us and making sure we're not close to some sort of imminent disaster or something.
Yeah, and he was saying that Oumuamua is like the first piece of the first thing they spotted in space that came from another galaxy.
Yeah, it's interstellar.
So how do they know that? Because they can map out things and
the trajectory and like the movement, like how they know the orbit of different things. I mean, that's how they know the orbit of like asteroids and comets and all sorts of different things.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
But yeah, there was Oumuamua came down. It was like almost like some like huge elliptical orbit that came right through our space there. So
yeah, hopefully next time we'll have some cameras up there and we can snap a few pics.
Yeah, I don't think it's that easy, but I'm sure they'll figure out a way to get some sort of better imaging. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the Tunguska impact. It was at 1908, I think, in Siberia. So this is a big one. This would mess stuff up. If it hit a big city, this would destroy.
Yeah, luckily it was in Siberia in
Yeah.
1908.
And interestingly enough, that's where that one guy went to find that quasi crystal too. Obviously, that area is desolate, so there's probably a lot of um, undisturbed nature there. So it'd probably be a good place to find that kind of stuff.
I was surprised they actually had pictures from that blast, but it looked like quite the catastrophe.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, there's that. Um, and then they go to where was it? Oh, they go to Antarctica, and there's a Korean team that is out there, and they're looking for meteorites. But it's since there's like nothing um, out there. Obviously, it's desolate. Like any rock they find on top of the ice or the snow is a meteorite, which is
Right.
crazy. And I think that one guy, that Clive guy, is actually found like one of the larger ones that they had found in a while when they like spread out in that one scene.
Yeah. It's quite emotional.
Yeah, and yeah, the one Korean scientist, this guy was very emotional, very happy, excited. Again, this is a spiritual topic.
Treasure hunt.
You
Yeah.
think like rocks from outer space is like just some science dry thing. It's not. I think it's emotional, it's spiritual. I think Werner Herzog did a great job of trying to encapsulate that. Um,
Yeah, I remember being a kid and going to the planetarium and they had a piece of moon rock or something, some kind of rock from space, and I remember just holding it and feeling the energy again. It might have been all in my mind because I was a kid, but
right. Oh, I forgot too. They did go. They went to meet with that one priest or whatever. His name's Brother Guy Consul Magno, I think is how you pronounce
yeah,
his name.
yeah, it was nice because he injected a little spirituality into the whole mix.
Um, it says that guy actually attended University of Detroit Jesuit High School, so that's kind of interesting.
Beautiful.
And he obtained his degree from MIT, and
He was no slouch. He wasn't just some
right.
servant of the Lord. He was definitely had his credentials in the scientific world.
And it says that in 1991 he entered the order, and he was assigned as an astronomer to the Vatican Observatory, where he also serves as a curator of the Vatican meteorite collection. So they did show that, him going through or talking about like the meteorite collection. And actually, I don't know where they were in the documentary, but they also went into some room where some guy was showing them all these different kinds of um, meteorites that were being collected, and one of them had hit like a dog house or something, and had like the
Yeah,
paint
yeah.
paint and had like dog hair that was on the ground, or said like missed the dog, thank
By a
God.
millimeter, he said.
Yeah, but it still had like dog hair and like paint on it and stuff. So
Well,
that's
there's all
kind.
kinds of theories that the Vatican knows all this. I mean, who knows what if
But
it's poop or not?
what would they know regarding this? I mean,
I
that
mean, there's some.
asteroids, the comets come,
I'm
like
not gonna get into it, but people go hardcore. They're like, they know about aliens. They know about all this
yeah,
stuff, and they
yeah.
will not.
Well, why even?
Yeah, I
No,
don't
I
know, man.
like
I'm not in that
look.
camp.
I'm not. There is records. That's in part of Immortality Key, Brian Marescu's book. He talks about going in there and finding physical evidence for um, ancient psychedelic use, and and possibly even all the way up to early Christianity, and maybe being a part of that aspect of it. So and then there's in Diana Pasulka's book American Cosmic, she goes there and finds all sorts of images that she shows somebody, and they're like, yeah, those are UFOs, and she was in those archives. So yeah, I'm not doubting that that's the case, but show me the stuff, like show me a picture, show me something. What are we gonna do with words that
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So
Well, again, people can talk all they want. They can say they know who they know, but who knows if they know, you know?
yeah. Um, so and then the last scene, I think they go to Mur Island. I think it's off the coast of Australia. Um, and they filmed the native people performing their tribal meteor dance. And
Yeah, that scene got me real excited. That shot at dusk. the sun's going down. It's perfectly pink in the sky.
Yeah,
That was some good filmmaking.
that island looked beautiful and the scenery looked great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, supposedly that same dance was performed in like 1898. Somebody from Cambridge was studying there, and he possibly made one of the first anthropological films there. So I don't know. I think that let's see here. Oh, and I think it's Oppenheimer has a quote. He said, "The dance is beautiful. They have torches. They beat together, and the sparks fly off into the atmosphere." Supposedly, they believe that those indigenous people believe that their souls are launched across the sky as fireballs when they die. So
when they smash the sticks, that's like kind of I was kind of lost at the end there. Like, what was that? What does that have to do with the meteorites?
I just said their mythology includes they believe that when you die, their departing souls are launched
Okay, I
across the
got that
skies.
part. So that's all right, yeah. And then
So-
when they beat the sticks, it's like little fireballs coming off of them.
Yeah. And actually, they think they opened up the documentary with a reenactment of some sort of Mayan fireball dance too, where they're like, tossing this ball that's on fire around in traditional attire at the very beginning. So
Yeah.
yeah, lots of great stuff. I thought it was a good documentary. I highly recommend it. I like the way they encapsulated both science and spiritual nature of the topic. I thought it was really well put together. Hopefully Werner Herzog does more of these types of documentaries too, on these kinds of topics, because
Well, Grizzly Man is very intense.
yeah, that's good. Again,
Yeah.
I don't even know what else he's made. I'd have to look into it, but
Nosferatu.
did he make that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or it might have been a remake of it, but
Is it
I
a
mean, look him up.
documentary about it
no,
though? or
no,
is it-
no, no, no. It's
Oh,
an
so he made a
actual-
recreation of the original of that. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, no, I love he's for his master class, man. He's amazing. This guy, he's a no jokes dude.
So I forgot. I was going to pull up some of your pictures here.
Yeah, it's interesting though because I was wondering I wonder how this guy picks topics for his documentaries. Like,
Probably just off what he's interested in at the time, I would imagine.
yeah,
This is one of Maurice's actually images here of Comet Neowise from last summer.
yeah, it was a good time, and
I think this is a time lapse one. Obviously, you can see the streaking lights.
Oh, it was just a longer exposure
Oh, okay.
because you got to do long exposures to capture the stars. There's a formula for whatever focal length you're using. So the stars, because if you hold it too long, the stars will blur. So I think that was around 15 second. And I was waiting for cars to come by to get that nice little streak.
Yeah.
Obviously, I took a lunch, but I was waiting for a car to come by to get that little streak. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The relationship between human and the outer world.
This is kind of a darker one, but I like it. I like how that tree's lit up a little bit on the left.
That first one's from Richmond, Michigan. The second one's from Lexington, Michigan.
Okay.
And
Let's see this third one. I like this one. This one, it's like all the trees are dark. Everything's dark except for the comet and the night sky.
yeah, and there's a week between those shots, and it was crazy.
So this
How
was
much-
taken a week after those other two shots?
It might have even been because remember I went out trying to get it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I went to my buddy's house. I shot it. I wasn't even planning on shooting it. I went to a birthday party and I was like, dang. They're like, oh, there's the comet. And I had my camera gear. I was like, I'm going to try and just shoot this thing because as a photographer, that was one rule I've always learned is always just get the shot if you have the chance because you never know if you're going to get another opportunity. So I did the shot, and then I came up with the idea. I want to go out and make a little video of me going to this dark park, which is made for astrophotography. So I went up to Port Austin, Michigan. I drove. It was like 2.5 hours. I get there, and it was just cloudy the whole night, so I couldn't get any shots. And then a couple more days later, I went to Lexington, and thank the Lord that it was clear. But
Um, yeah, I like that picture. And yeah, actually, if anybody's interested, it's under our playlist, Maurice's Adventures, his Neowise Part 1 and Neowise Part 2.
yeah, I take you along with me. You can see kind of the trials and tribulations. But yeah, man, it was a good time. And what
Let's
is
see
it?
this
Then
fourth
we're
one
never gonna
here.
see this thing for another 6,000 years or so. So I figured it was worth.
I like
the,
that one. I think I like that third one the best out of all the pictures with the dark trees.
Yeah, it's definitely less noise, less busy, if you will. Um, when they say taking photos, you always want to. You can never be too basic, really.
Yeah, I mean, you do good stuff. And if what's your Instagram? If anybody's interested.
At Maurice_Hogan.
Yeah, check out his page. It's he's got a lot of artistic landscape stuff from his hiking and a lot of this night sky stuff, the Detroit skyline, all that kind of stuff.
I would do more astro stuff, but again, in Michigan, when you shoot the sky, you shoot the sky. It's really about the foreground elements. You always see these crazy shots of people out in Utah and
some of those
hitting the
pictures we
arches
take when we were on our camping trip, though, some of those come out really good. Of like, I like how the one year I was telling you what to do. I had no idea what's going on, but you got some good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's another cool trick you can do when you're doing the long exposures is you can use your flashlight to paint. So we would point the camera up
The
between
one
the holes
picture
in the
looked like
trees.
a Coleman camping, ad picture or something like that. Like that one picture was it was like a campground way in the background with like the full night sky and everything, a couple planets out. That was a great picture.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I really like the doing that kind of stuff, but where I live, right next to Detroit, it's almost impossible. I know you know that because of Chicago. You can't get anything because it's so bright. Even in that picture, I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and you can see.
Where's this one? Same thing, Port Austin.
The last two were from Lexington.
Oh, Lexington.
Yeah, but you can see it's still bright because.
Yeah.
It's finding that happy medium, finding the right shutter speed, and so it's not too dark, but because you want to get some kind of foreground. If not, it's just all stars, and it's like anybody can shoot that anywhere. I try to incorporate a little bit of something in the front, but I actually like the shot at the very end of part 2 where it's just the galaxy and there's a bunch of shooting stars. It's not Neowise, but it's a bunch of shooting stars, and that's I just love that thrill where you push the shutter speed because you have to wait.
Right.
The camera opens up, sucks in all the light, and then you just wait and you're just praying that no one bumps the tripod or anything, and it's like a little surprise. It's
Right.
kind of probably how those guys feel when they're. That would be a cool part of science to get into because you're going on treasure hunts essentially, and you could really see it with the Korean guys at the end, man, when they find that big rock. They're hugging it. They're like, all right. It was hilarious too. The guy picks it up and he's like, all right, put it down now. You remember? You can hear him. He's
Oh no, that's a different part. That's when the guy's walking through what I was talking about earlier with that dog meteorite when he's in the Oh, that might be at the end too.
No, it is at the end.
The one part where the guy puts on like the gloves and he's in the lab and he's holding that heavy ass and the guy just like throws it on the table and like wow, that guy was careful with the other one, but he was not careful with that meteorite.
Yeah, he tells him too. He goes, "Do not drop this." I wouldn't even want to hold the thing.
Yeah.
What's the point? I'll look at it. I don't need to hold it.
Right. Well.
But yeah, man, a great documentary. I think it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's definitely getting some good acclaim.
Yeah. definitely worth checking out. Again, it's only available on Apple TV, but you can get what did you say, like a 7-day trial or something, free
Yeah, I
trial.
went on there and it was just you can get a free 7-day trial, and then again it's like $5.99. It's probably one of the cheapest streaming platforms. We're not sponsored by Apple, ladies and gentlemen.
Huh.
I just think it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's good stuff on there. I just happen to use Apple TV already. That's why I had access to it. But
Oh, this guy makes tons of movies.
does he?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna read all these off, but he's made a documentary in 2019, 2018, 2016, 2011, 2010. I mean, this guy he's an animal.
Yeah. So yeah, if definitely worth checking out for sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, thank you to our new Patreon members, or patrons, I should
Yep.
say,
Yep.
Zachariah and Ryan. We appreciate you and we love you. And you can check us out at Patreon at patreon.com/MindEscapePodcast. For just $2 a month, you'll get exclusive guest episodes and segments. And then also, I just uploaded our first fan chat. We've done a few of them, but we never recorded it. But we just threw up a new one that we actually recorded. It was kind of a fun conversation. So again, shout out to Sandy, Sean, Cole, and Chip, and everybody else. And we love everybody. Stay safe out there. Oh, I forgot. Also, again, go check out indrasweb.org. And set up a profile. And this is the social network we created to connect open minds. And yeah, that's it. We will be live tomorrow again at 2 p.m. Eastern time with Matt Roberts discussing UFOs and paranormal stuff, and probably a little bit of Greek mythology as well. And then on Friday, we have PD Newman on, where we're going to discuss ancient and esoteric psychedelic use and his new book coming out. And that's it.
Beautiful.
Everybody stay safe out there. We love you, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And gals, peace.
Peace.